Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Work Life. Right? Why? Because I'm the money chick, but you know what? You got to build your life from the inside out. I am Julie Murphy, and this is my friend Karen. And Karen has helped me awaken my work life well over a decade ago because, I was pregnant with my son at that time, and he is now almost 12.
That's crazy.
I know. And there's way too many people out there that are miserable in their work lives. And it's time for that to stop.
It
It's
is
time for us to
completely.
create. I know that's why I put you create your work life. Really? I created? Come on. I need a paycheck. I need to pay my bills. I need to right? Like there's all these stories that we hook to, right? So, but we have to realize we are the creators of our universe, our personal universes.
It's so true. And we have a tendency to abdicate our power and
Mm,
forget how much we actually have control over.
right,
And then we kind of acquiesce or give in to mediocrity, or we become complacent around it. And Julie and I just want to invite you to dream a little bit.
all
Right.
right,
Because here's the thing, if you're feeling uncomfortable or discomfort, like people who are happy where they are don't feel this way.
right,
Like if you're truly good with like your job and where you are in life and things like that, you're feeling contented or
right.
contentment, right? But what for those of you who are like, eh,
There's
like
a
yeah, whatever.
lot these
Stop.
days.
Like, really? You can't
Oh,
play that off to yourself. Like you can't hide from yourself. You can't play that off to yourself.
mhm,
And
right,
do you want to do something about it?
right. That is the key. Do you want to do anything about it? It's kind of like I wrote this morning. I shared this with Karen, which kind of led to it. It says, I create my life. What do I want to stop creating that I am creating?
You know what? That question is completely relevant. And sometimes it's easier for people to answer that than it is to tell you what they want. They can tell you
Right?
what they don't want. And
We
that
gotta
is
be careful of that.
every bit as valid. Every bit
Yeah,
as valid.
that's so true.
So like if you're sitting, those of you who are watching, if you're sitting and you're in a work environment and you
Good.
don't like something, I want you to write it down. What is it that you don't like? Right? What is it that you don't want more of? Because adjacent to that, I want you to write the corollary. What would you prefer instead?
Right.
Because you can't do anything about it until you make a claim to yourself or you
Yeah.
invite yourself to something different. So it's just as important or just as valid or just as helpful, maybe more helpful, if you know what you don't want any more of,
Hmm.
because then you can identify what you would prefer.
Right. Right. And I think we really do it. That is one of the most self-loving and self-caring things that you can do
Hmm.
because you matter all along the road, all along the road.
And you bring up a valid point because there's been a fair amount of self-care talk in the past, decade. Like it's important. You'll see on posts like take care of yourself, do well for yourself. And I think a lot of people think of that as go take a good bath or
Go to the spa.
read a book or fix yourself a really healthy meal. And all of that is valid and true, but being kind to yourself, right? By taking action to actually make yourself feel better, to do things that support you, that's self-love too.
Right.
And the other stuff is almost like window dressing. I'm not saying that we don't all need rest and rejuvenation, like we do,
Sure,
but
that's a piece of the puzzle.
they're a piece. And
Right.
it's like those are kind of quick fixes. The a really self-loving thing to do is what Julie and I are talking about today, which is what do I not want any more of?
Yeah, right?
What, I don't want to work in a job that has no social consciousness to it. Maybe that's it. I don't want to work in a job where the people are just crabs in a bucket, as you would say, Julie. I don't I don't want to work in a job that's a toxic environment and they don't value what I'm bringing to the table. What are those things for you? What are those things? Because that is so self-loving to like take a stand for yourself. I've been having these conversations recently about taking a stand for ourselves. Julie and I can support you and we can tell you how fabulous you are, which is true, but that doesn't stick. It doesn't have the same potency as when you do something on your own behalf.
Grab the pen and put it to paper. It's super important. I have lots of pieces of paper. And I often have people make these lists, right? I have people make these lists of, okay, these are the things that are going on your job, but these are, and sometimes I'll have people actually go, think back about the different jobs or the things that you've done in your lifetime. And what were the parts of each one of those that, if you were to combine the favorite parts of all of those into one, what would that be? So make a list of like, at this job, this boss was great, gave me flexibility, trusted me to do my job, wasn't a micromanager. I want a boss like that, or I want coworkers that are like that, where we're a team and we collaborate, and make that list. And what often happens, I have found, months down the road, is that I'll ask clients like, well, where's that list of that ideal job that you and career that you want to shift to? And I'm like, I don't know what happened to the list. Like, so here you go through the exercise. It's like going to a motivational seminar, right? And you're like, woohoo, I'm ready. I went. I got Tony Robbins, blah, blah, blah. It's great. And then a week later, you're like back in your pile of shit. Pardon my French. But you're sitting there going, you lost all that motivation because it's like, no, no, no. Stick that list that you have and put it on your refrigerator. Put it on your desk. Or when you open your laptop in the morning, it's sitting right there. And it's like, so that you're reading through that list, because we got to remember our subconscious mind needs to be rewired so that you don't recreate the exact same job, just different faces and different names in a different environment.
So true. And that, like, what's true in your work life is probably true in your life,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
you
Like,
don't show up differently in different places.
you don't. You might think you are, but you
Mm,
aren't. And so some of the same patterns, you will notice patterns,
right.
and Julie,
Yep.
I'm sure you see this with people and their money. Those patterns don't necessarily change.
Yeah.
They they may not be as obvious, but like if you aren't showing up for yourself in your life, then you probably aren't showing up for yourself in your money management and you aren't showing up for yourself at work, you know?
Yeah. It was really interesting to me to notice the pattern in 08 and 09 that people who worked at General Motors, now General Motors declared bankruptcy in 08 and 09.
Mhm,
And um, we have to remember, when you're part of a culture, you have attributes of that yourself, which is why you resonate there, which is why you are there. All those people who I had as clients that worked at General Motors,
mhm,
whether they were still there or they had left, they all had to work through their own personal version of being personally fiscally screwed up. No different
mhm.
than the company that they work for that had to declare bankruptcy, because you're managing your personal money the same way you're managing the budgets for the company, and it's systemic across the whole thing.
Yeah,
So it's just like, if you want to get out of credit card debt, well, don't hang out with a bunch of friends who have a bunch of credit card debt, because all you're going to do is help amplify all of you having credit card debt.
right.
Work for a company that's expansionary, not trying to pay off all these loans and debts that they have. And they're making poor business decisions because they're trying to still clean up their past while living in the present moment, trying to pay paychecks and everything, let alone create the bonus structures and the expansion and the growth that you want to be a part of. So
Yeah.
we have to remember, it is all in the culture of the company and the people that we surround ourselves with. So this claiming process of what you really want, like, you know what's going on inside the companies that you work for. Like, you have, and you also know where you resonate most times, and because some, what's that saying? Misery loves company.
Oh, it's true. And birds of a feather flock together. That stuff, I mean, those little adages
Right?
were created for a reason.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and not and don't be afraid to take a look at it.
Right.
What we kind of talk about this every week, which is your truth.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to write it down, look at your truth. You don't have to do a darn thing with it, but at least you looked at it. And my guess is if you look at it, it will create a shift in your life of some sort to help
Right.
you navigate and move through
Right.
more things. It's yeah, what I don't want any more of is a very powerful experience. You can't hide from yourself. And here's the thing, you weren't really hiding from yourself before. You just hadn't really drawn it out into
Right.
like plain view. But somewhere in the back of
Hmm.
your being, you knew. You knew you didn't want more. You didn't like certain things. You wanted things to
Right.
be different. This is your opportunity.
I know. And you really deserve it, because, and I'm on the other side of that with people that when they do follow what that internal heart desire is with the work that they do in the world, more money always shows up. Always. But people think it's the opposite. They
Hmm.
think they should first get the job that has all the money so then they can amass more money. But what you don't realize is if you amass more money from the egoic mind place, that it logically seems like the next right step for what you want to create in your life, um, you wind up spending more, acting out in spending, whether you're buying more purses, more clothes, more whatever, more Amazon packages showing up at the house,
Hmm.
right? So the money, even though if you're making more, you're creating more bills because you're emotionally trying to satisfy something internally that you don't realize the void is that you don't like the job you're doing.
Yeah, let's underscore that, right? We tend to lean into our soft addictions,
Mm,
kind of address that hole, the emptiness,
right,
the dissatisfaction,
right,
and soft addictions, like you said, it could be Amazon purchases, it could be books, it could be clothing. We understand retail therapy. It could be any number of things, and we all have them. You should see
right.
my tea cabinet. I have 5 shelves of tea. But understand that that's what's likely to happen because you haven't addressed the core issue, which is
I
what makes you
know.
happy.
I know. And that kind of goes to the work that you talk about in the world is your blind spots.
Mhm.
Because sometimes you're not even aware of what those blind spots are necessarily.
No, what you can't see or don't realize are keeping you from doing and accomplishing the things you say you want to
Hmm.
in the world. So
Right.
it's yeah, small steps though. Like the other
Just
thing that
small
happens too is
steps.
that people recognize they want to make a change. I need to lose 50 pounds this year, or I need to, and that is burdensome.
Hmm.
And I want to say, like, let's come a little bit closer into present time, not so far out there. And let's just talk about this week.
Well,
What,
yeah, present moment awareness, right? Eckhart Tolle talks about that all the time.
what can I do to support myself this week? And the same thing's true for like improving the quality of your life and the quality of your work life. It's like you don't have to really have a huge conversation about, I really need to leave this job. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to take an inventory
Right,
of what's working for you and what's not working for you.
right.
And from there, you'll take the next step. And it's like that with money too.
It's no different, right? Well, and I always talk about the fact that I also don't want you to beat yourself up financially about the choices that you've made, because your reality is your reality because it's your reality. Like you and a lot of times when people then sit there and look at their reality, there's a grieving process you have to go through, because you know, I just actually financially did that the other day. I went through like, what's my reality? I had to fire a bookkeeper because she made a $380,000 mistake at my company.
Yeah, you know what? Most of us can't even fathom that.
Right. Well, I just wrote 15 months later, I just wrote the last check to get out of that. And it's like, okay, it took me 15 months to climb out of that. And I've worked really hard and balanced a lot of things and cut a lot of things off, but I made empowered choices to deal with that reality.
Mhm.
Often what we do is we choose to become victim of those things as opposed to stay in our power.
Mhm.
And what I realized is like, okay, well, now based on the fact that these resources had to go to this to plug that hole, which is kind of like people's debt structures, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're credit card, student loans, home equity loans, 401k loans, you name it, there is the opportunity to create debt all kinds of places around the world. What I really want to stress to people is that often we don't switch our work life because we now are dependent on that paycheck to pay for all those past choices
Yep.
in our debts. So I don't want you to spend the time really focusing on that debt. I want you to get those debt payments on autopilot, even if it's automatic bill pay, get them to the
Mhm.
most efficient interest rate you can, have them on auto pay. I want you to focus more on what it is that you want to create in the here and now that then plants the seeds for the future that you want to create. While this is slowly and surely systematically getting paid off.
Yep.
No different than I did over the last, 15 months with the mistake that my bookkeeper made.
Yeah.
It's like, trust me, I would like to sue this accounting firm that did this mistake,
Mhm.
but then that would keep me in the, and a lot of people are like, but they have to pay for their choices. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, decide where your energy is. They
Yeah.
lost a very good client. So they're on some level paying for their choice, right?
Right.
Because I'm only expanding and growing. So, and I also believe that the universe has your back. Like, we don't necessarily have to keep fighting and keep struggling. Like, it's really as easy as like, no, I'm just detaching from that energy. They're not meant to support me moving forward in my work life. And I'm being called to bring in better expertise. And
Yeah.
and I did. And it was, these people are phenomenal that I have now. I'm like going, I don't know whether to shit or wind my watch. I'm so excited. And I didn't know you could get excited like that working with a CPA.
Yeah. Especially when they know what they're doing. That makes a huge
They've
difference.
taught me stuff, right? I'm in finance. So for somebody to teach me something new, and it's like, as little as that sounds, like it's exciting to me because now I have a stronger support system that's going to support more of the infrastructure of what I need moving forward. And
Right.
it came in the craziest of package, right? Of how that all transitioned, but
Yeah.
and so I really want people to see where you choose to focus your energy is so important.
It does really matter. And I mean, I guess the corollary to that for this episode and on the work side is, yeah, there are things you don't like, but they're only meant to draw your attention so that you can envision what you would prefer.
Right.
What do you want instead? Don't stay in the like, wow, 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 wow. Like, yeah, like that
No
glum,
thanks.
it'll never work. I can't stand it.
Yeah, stop talking to those
No.
people that keep telling you your life's not going to work. You know,
Yeah,
I, I came from nothing. I'm one of 12 kids. We didn't have hardly any money growing up. It's just stretched too thin. Parents worked super hard, and I created everything that I have and
mhm.
everything that I experience. So, those of you who are watching that feel like you can't in your reality, it's just not true. I am living proof that it absolutely is possible.
Well, and the point you made earlier is consistency, right? Like learning to be consistent in our lives is one of the best things we could learn to do. And so You know, it's like when people feel like one person can't make a difference. Yeah, tell that to Stacey Abrams in Georgia. I'm just saying, like, you can make a difference and little bits do add up,
Right. Right.
right? So if you feel like, well, I can't put $100 a month away, all right, what can you do? Is it $5 a week? Do that. Take
Yep.
a small step. Take the small steps, small but consistent steps to be a stand for yourself in your life. You
Yeah.
can do that.
So
And
go ahead.
eventually it accumulates and you're like, "Oh my god, look at what I did."
Well, and this is what I always say, in my book, Awaken Your Wealth, I talk about when you have newfound money. So you get a pay raise. Let's just say it's 3%. Nothing major. It's just more cash that you didn't have before. I always tell people take 1/3 of that and add that to your debt payoffs. So let's just say it's $300 more a month you're getting. So have $100 more a month go to paying off your highest interest rate debt.
Mhm.
Then have $100 a month increase your spending, and have it be a spend, not something that just gets charged to your credit card every month that you barely notice. Have it go into that vacation fund, or that something that's going to make you giggle and spend,
Right.
right? Like, you want this piece of jewelry, ladies, or guys, you want this golf club set. Open one of those online savings accounts that says, you know you can name it. There's plenty of vendors out
There
there that you can
are, and
name.
I use them.
Yeah, you just claim what you want. I want this gold, golf set, whatever. You know what? Like, for example, I wanted a sailboat, so I called it a boat fund. But then when I figured out I wanted a sailboat versus a powerboat, I changed the name to it and I called it sailboat fund. And then I was like, oh, I want a 34-foot Beneteau. And then because I kept renaming it as I got the clarity. I've had people call their vacation funds. They start with vacation, and then they switch it to like my Italy fund, my Asia fund, whatever. Like, so a third goes to your spending, and claim what it is that's going to make you giggle, because giggling, laughter, joy raises your vibration. And then the other third, have that other $100 go towards, let me build up my emergency reserves more and add more to my retirement account and a little bit more to my kids' education. So you can do like 40, 30, and 30. And people will say to me, going, well, that's hardly anything. That's not going to get me anywhere. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's your reality. We don't need to judge it. And it could even be that you're creating a bucket that says money for, I have people call it their freedom fund. Like, if you hate your job but you still need the paycheck, we'll call it your freedom fund. So that when it gets to a certain level, it gives you enough space to have a couple months of money to where you can stop the rat race and try to then get a job somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
you're insulating yourself and you're creating choices for yourself.
Yeah, and before you know it, you'll take a peek, you'll get a statement, you're like, "Oh, look at all that
Right?
money is in there. Oh, who knew?" And then what's funny is all you wanna do is make it grow more, right?
Right.
Then you're like,
Yep.
"Yeah, yeah, I'm on a roll now. Let's give it some more. Let's make it bigger." So yeah, I just wanna encourage everybody to make the list.
Be
What
the
do I wish
creator.
Yeah, what do I wish was different? What do I need in my work world? What would feed me? Because again, one of my favorite things to say or acknowledge is like the work you do it's a representation of you in the world,
Mm,
right? And that you should be fed as you are feeding and serving others. So the work you do should like energize you in some way. I'm not
right.
saying that, 24/7 you're going to be like dancing on tabletops about it, but like it should be almost aspirational. It should feed you. It should make you happy. It should motivate you. It should give something back to you
Right.
while you are doing whatever it is that you're doing.
So true.
And it is possible.
That's beautiful. And
Yay.
that's where I really want those of you who are watching to really understand that you are the creator of your life. That all the good, the bad, and the ugly, you have created it all. And that is so hard for some of us to see, because you can point out all kinds of life circumstances that supported that. but we always have choice. We always have, a decision to make. I remember when I decided to move my office into, I call it the non-mahogany desk
Yeah.
financial firm.
Yeah.
2003, I actually moved to a loft space that's got exposed brick, looks nothing like a financial firm. But I did that because I needed to be in a different energetic space for me to be more creative in the financial work that I do in the world. And it's so important. And it's so important. It's just for you to claim you in this process of working in the world. Because if you're not showing up authentically, it's only going to create disease in your body
Yeah.
or more debt in your pocketbook, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Or you're going to work so hard in your career and then you're going to get divorced because you didn't pay attention to your family because you kept trying to plug that hole somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, those holes are real. We should name them. When we come back next week, I'll like have a name for them. They're like the dissatisfaction holes. Like, how much are you like this piece of Swiss cheese? Because those holes, you're going to plug them somehow. Are you conscious of how you're doing that?
Right. I had somebody tell me, like, well, I'm just working really hard and then I'm going to get to this place. And I said, you constantly keep telling me about how much your wife doesn't understand what you're doing. Do you understand if you don't pay attention to your wife right now, she's not going to be here in 5 years when you have the net worth to actually stop working because she's going to be sick of your shit? And you guys are like, you have to simultaneously, if you don't have your authenticity and you'll call it your soul code in the center of your world and be authentic in the world, whether it's and pushing those decisions out to your work life, your financial life, family, if you're not having the right thing in the center,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean to say that it's wrong. I mean, there's times it's not a balance. It's harmonic, right? We live in a harmonic world in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the fact that you really just, if you put your work life, I've seen so many people do this, they put their work life as the center because they financially have pigeonholed themselves and they don't know how to get out of the rat race.
Right.
And at some juncture, that process breaks. Everybody has their own breaking point, but that always, always breaks.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't take a stand for yourself, it's not the structure's just not as solid.
Right.
Like it's temporary. It's a Band-Aid.
So it's important for all of you guys to make that list of what would you love. And if you can't get to the place that you love or your dream job, well, get to the place of what do I not like?
Correct.
And after you write that list, flip it. I don't like this. Okay, well then what do you want since you don't want that? Like that helps your brain siphon it down so that you can pull out whatever it is. So I don't like this, but then what do I really want? Because sometimes when we're in such a pile of poop, we can't really see the dream. We can't really see. We're
yeah. If you're too far down on what they call Maslow's hierarchy, where you're just like it's all about survival, that's all you can think about. But that's still a valid place to be taking a look. What do I need to be different? What don't I like?
Right.
So what does that mean I need?
Right.
Right. And then you can go up once you're breathing, like you've got your like little life preserver on, your head's comfortably above the water. Then you can start thinking about which direction do I need to go in to find land? Did I start swimming? Is that a little boat over there? Like now you can start to think a little more strategically. And it just that the thinking elevates. The more comfortable and balanced, the stronger the foundation you create underneath you.
Right. Exactly. Ah, good stuff this week, Karen. Well, I look forward to hearing all of your guys' lists because we need to claim it in the world. So next week, bring your lists and let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we fill these dissatisfaction holes.
Yeah.
And let's get busy creating a work life that we love and get paid.
Yeah, how about that?
All right, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.